Good evening and welcome along to Business Today. I'm Jerome Paul Sonko with Winnie Williams and Aquaculture on Sign Language. And many thanks for joining us on this fruitful day of 4th October 2022. All right, now let's kickstart it off with our top story in here, taking us through the milestones of the telecommunications industry in Uganda. Uganda's telecom companies have invested heavily in infrastructure services as Uganda prepares to celebrate its 60th independence anniversary. We analyze the key developments in the telecommunications sector. This and more with Ronan Ahabwe.
As of June 2018, the telephone communication system was described by the CIA fact book as a developed through private partnership. As of 2004, Uganda Telecom Limited, UTL, Celtel and MTN Uganda were the three telecommunications operators licensed by the Uganda Communications Commission. It is in March 2010 that the international calling code was mentioned as 256. Airtel entered the Ugandan market on June 8, 2010. Airtel further consolidated its position as the second largest mobile operator in Uganda with a combined customer base of over 7.4 million and a market share of over 39%. In 2018, Airtel hit 10 million customer mark, and this milestone was cemented by Airtel's position as the fastest growing telecom company in Uganda. In January 2019, Airtel Uganda achieved 100% of 4G Lite across all sites in Uganda. On October 21, 1998, MTN Uganda launched commercial services in Uganda, and in just 6 months after acquiring and signing of the license, MTN then grew from strength to strength and has grown to be a leading telecommunications company in Uganda. Created by the Uganda Post and the Telecommunications Company that were operating in inadequate telephone landlines across the country. The President, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, was amazed that a small analog mobile phone then could enable him speak to the late Mandela. According to UCC, there are over 35 telecommunications companies in the country right now. As Uganda celebrates its 60th independence, here are major milestones MTN has been able to overcome throughout its journey.
We got our license in 1998, and remember Uganda is one of the few countries where teledensity was actually in reverse growth. We got our license. It was a commitment to connect 85,000 people. Our focus was then, of course, on mobile telephony. We moved from mobile telephony. We got prepaid. After prepaid, we went into other value services, value add. We've gone into fiber optics. We had an international gateway. We started, remember Uganda had a very big informal sector, which we have helped formalize. We've come a long way. We've got mobile money. We've got value-added services, international services. So I think we've become very customer-centric as of now.
The newly appointed MTN CEO gave an inaugural speech while being officiated at the headquarters of MTN.
In the first 100 days listening, simply because I think the team, based on the business plan that I've seen so far, they've done a really good job in putting it together. It addresses the current opportunities, deals with the strategic threats. So it's just getting a better understanding of what is the current context of the Ugandan people, how our business exists, and what is the value that we actually seek to create. There's a reason why MTN exists in this country, and understanding that purpose and how we are actually bringing it to life is going to be critical, because I think that is foundational to any work that we want to do going into the future.
In a report by UCC on how to identify a telecommunication market, the state of competition tends to vary significantly from market to market. As a result, a clear definition of relevant markets is needed in order to assess markets in terms of market power and the level of competition. Ronan Ahabwe, Business Today, Smart 24 TV.
All right, now our next report traces back 69 years back. Since 1953, there has been tremendous growth within the aquaculture sector, where currently the country produces 15,000 tons of fish per annum. However, the 18% value-added tax imposed on fish feeds that are imported hinders the growth of the sector. Naomi Mutumba with more.
The price of fish feeds imported from Egypt, Israel and the Netherlands goes for 6,000, 7,000 and 8,000 shillings per kilogram. Fish farmers have always urged that this is on the higher side compared to fish feed imports from Kenya that go for 3,000 shillings per kilogram. However, this is not only the challenge faced in aquaculture sector, but also 18% value-added tax imposed on fish feeds has also affected the sector growth.
That they use in breeding fish, those ones are a little also high, so it's also another problem. People cannot breed fish because of that hormone being expensive.
Now I can assure you that about 8 months ago up to now, a kilo of fish feeds has increased by about 1,000 shillings, meaning farmers are now digging deep into their pockets to be in position to purchase these feeds. And most of the feeds that we find in the market, which are of good quality, are imported feeds. These feeds are taxed highly. Apparently, we are paying value-added tax of 18%. There are import duties of 10%.
The government will help us only just reduce to some levels so that these people, even the one who was, even the last person who cannot afford like a tank, let's say a tank that can hold around 20 pieces, to at least rear something, let's say 10 pieces or 15. Because if you can buy a liner and you install it in a tank made out of wood, and you can put in your 10 pieces or 15, people at home will consume them. Even if your target is not to sell off at the end of the day and you need your people to eat, you can rear fish, then you eat at home.
Aquaculture was introduced in Uganda in 1953 with the establishment of an aquaculture experimental station at Kajansi. The objective of the station was to conduct research and extension services, produce and distribute fish fry to farmers. The species initially farmed were the native tilapianese, Nile tilapia, tilapia zili and the catfish.
Uganda started way back in 1953. That was before independence. And that started with the construction of a research center for carrying out research and development of technologies to enable fish farming to take place in Uganda. And that was specifically at the Aquaculture Research and Development Center, which is just within our neighborhood here. During that time, it was not more of like production, but developing technologies of domestication of some of the fish species that we have here locally, which include the Nile tilapia, the African catfish, we have Clarias and all other species.
During the 1970s and the 1980s, aquaculture in Uganda virtually collapsed. Most ponds were abandoned due to political instability and mismanagement. As a result, aquaculture production dropped from 900 tons in 1965 to 30 tons by 1986. The number of ponds countrywide dropped from 11,000 in 1965 to 6,000 by 1990. Virtually all the fish fry centers were run down. Rehabilitation of aquaculture resumed in 1986. Miracup and Nile tilapia remained the most popular aquaculture species. However, production increased slightly from 30 tons in 1986 to 400 and 600 tons in 1992 and 4,000 tons by 2004. In the financial year 2021-2022, aquaculture production has increased to 15,000 tons, and this has attracted exportation.
And apparently within aquaculture sector alone, Uganda is able to produce about 15,000 tons of fish per annum, yes, annually. So, which is a good progress, because when you look at the demand for fish, both within and the neighboring countries, it's really high.
Of all these species, Nile tilapia, catfish, and miracup became and have remained the most commonly cultured fish species in Uganda. Additional technologies are being developed to increase the number of farmed fish.
In developing the aquaculture sector include one, development of good quality feeds, because naturally these fish feed on food from the wild. We have the zooplanktons, we have the phytoplanktons. These are some of the natural feeds. We have the cladocerans, copepods, moina. All these are feeds which are within the ecosystem in which our fish live within the lake. But because of research that has always been going on, there have been technologies of seeing how good quality feeds can be produced, and these feeds are used to feed the fish, and these fish are able to have good feed conversion ratio.
The aquaculture sector has been growing tremendously from the year 1953, growing from 30 tons to currently 15,000 tons. However, there is still need for more investment into this sector. Naomi Mtumba, Business Today, Smart 24 TV.
All right, now let's look at the cabinet decision on the East African crude oil pipeline project. Government, through the Ministry of Energy, has clarified the public on the East African crude oil pipeline project that was published on the 15th of September this year through a statement from the European Union Parliament, which has provided a comprehensive response to the issues raised through an appropriate manner. Let's have more of this report.
By European Parliament for the proposed East African crude oil pipeline that ignited an uproar in Uganda over human rights and environmental concerns, which compelled Uganda and Tanzania, as well as a lead complementer, Total Energies, to delay development of the EACO for at least a year. Today, the State Minister for Energy and Mineral Development, Honorable Peter Tekolo Keris, has disclosed the cabinet decision on the pipeline.
The government, for its relations with the European Union and its institutions, it is committed to furthering partnerships in all areas, including social and community development, human rights, climate change, mutual benefits. It is strongly believed that the success of partnership depends on upholding the universally acceptable principles of mutual respect. The government will, therefore, always welcome engagement with our partners, including the European Union, on any matter, provided there is adherence to the cultural principles which Ugandans view are sacrosanct.
The benefits of the project to the Ugandans and the government at large have been paraded, and all Ugandans have been urged to embrace the project positively.
Government is going to get revenues through its share of oil, through royalties, and through taxes. But these will not go to individual pockets of Ugandans. Ugandans must prepare to participate in the sector by provision of goods and services. That's where a lot of money is. The minister has highlighted the contracts that have already been issued and the money is involved and how much has gone to Ugandans. That's about 28–30%. Our aim is to reach 40% of the funds in these projects remaining in Uganda, not going back to those who are funding the projects. So I think Ugandans, instead of now joining those campaigning against the projects, should actually brace up, prepare themselves, and get into the projects for provision of goods and services. That's where money is. The countries that have benefited from the oil and gas sector are those countries where citizens participated in the sector. The royalties and taxes will go to government to build hospitals and roads and so on. Those will not go to individual pockets.
As a Ugandan and somebody who supports development, I kindly ask you to be party to what is going on, to support what we are going through. We all see what's happening. People have been talking of climate change, which some of us who are scientists, we know that we had even ice age, where the whole world was covered by ice. It disappeared. The world is changing. Me as a geophysicist, I know that one time the world was so hot that things got burnt. We all know that one time the earth was covered by water, the dinosaurs. Some of these are coming. The oil we see is out of that challenges, those tectonic movements. So, as a Ugandan, kindly support this project. It is us who will lose in case this project is stopped.
Design Nambiru, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now let's talk matters. Evidence to Action 2022. The Evidence to Action 2022 is premised to the understanding that evidence-based research and evaluation findings exist and have huge potential for potentially impacting Africa's policy positively. Decision-making and action to drive the realization of African Union's initiatives seeks to reimagine evaluation and explore ways to make it even more functional amidst the COVID-19 pandemic and post-COVID-19 recovery, where the major focus is on human capital development and women empowerment. This and more with Naomi Mutumba.
Current context and the challenges facing the world and compounded by the conflict in Ukraine and the food shortages, insecurity, as well as the rising fuel prices and shortages, sound evidence is essential to inform policy making and development actions, as Right Honorable Justin Lumumba explains.
A person will not think of how to make money, but only to look for food. So once we go into issues and put a lot of efforts in the parish development model, as a team, everybody included, we shall also solve the issues to do with food security. And once we solve the issues of people entering the money economy, issues of health will be dealt with. You'll have people who can listen to you, because whatever you tell them, they will be looking at it in terms of money. And that will help us turn around also issues to do with health.
The conference aims to nurture the use of evidence-based policy decision-making and action in Africa, especially in the drive towards the realization of Agenda 2063 and Agenda 2030 goals within the disruptions of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Very exciting for many reasons, and that we all are involved in development programs, development activities, but we don't ever take time to get evidence, data collected, analyzed, organized before we draw up our development programs and activities. If we don't do that before, it is difficult to evaluate the achievements of development programs without having prepared them based on evidence.
All of what the coordinators or the facilitators expect from this, and I will also get so many experiences which is useful in our country to transform Africa as well as to transform Uganda, Ethiopia and the like, because we have resources, as I said. So by using evidence and by making evidence-based policy making, to solve our challenges or our problems, evidence is very important.
Uganda's Vision 2040 identifies human capital development as a key fundamental for development. The National Development Plan 2 emphasizes the importance of creating an environment in which people can develop their full potential and lead productive and creative lives in line with their needs and interests. The plan identified skills development as means to raise productivity and incomes to enhance competitiveness of the economy. Honorable Henry Musasizi indicates as the Ministry of Finance has contributed to about 30% youth and women empowerment.
Where government focuses on financing, particularly on health, on education, on youth empowerment, and also women empowerment. We have supported over the years the youth agenda and the women agenda through creating special funds. We have the Youth Empowerment Fund, which has supported a number of youth throughout the country. We have the Women Fund, which has supported the women. And also, in order to enable them get wealth, we spent about 32 billion going to the youth, to the women alone. And the youth fund, the livelihood fund, has received over 300 billion in the years it has been operating.
The generation and use of evidence-based and relevant policies to support development will lead to development of societies where innovative insights to support business recovery plans using evidence and evaluation systems are used. Naomi Mtumba, Smart 24, Business Today.
And there you have it. We do return with more business today after the break. Keep it Smart 24 TV.
Smart 24, driving business.
Uganda, the time is here to celebrate like never before. MTN and Talent Africa present Afropalooza. Independence Weekend, 8th to 9th of October, featuring over 60 artists in a 2-day celebration of Uganda, including Rama, Maddox, Sauti Sol, Zex Bilanji, Janzi Band, Cindy, Winnie Nwaji, Finka, Maurice Curia, and a lot more. That's not all. Arts and culture showcases, business expos, culinary experience. Yes, come get a taste of Uganda. Afropalooza is proudly brought to you by Talent Africa, Gemson, Now Special, Stanbic Bank, and MTN. Afropalooza, celebrating the Pearl of Africa.
This is Jordan. When it comes to classwork, Jordan